So, Andrew, what makes an effective team?
On the face of it, effectiveness is quite straightforward. I mean, we would all look at leadership teams in organisations and say, oh, well, they're effective or they're not. That's my experience of having worked with lots of organisations. But when one starts to work with a team, one realises that actually effectiveness is a lot more complicated, in the sense that what a team is trying to do, particularly at the executive level, is to balance various goals and not become too focused or too preoccupied with one at the expense of another. So the sorts of goals that executive teams need to bear in mind are questions around growth, profitability, the long-term health and development of the organisation, attending to different stakeholder groups such as shareholders, unions, employees, but then also looking after the long-term reputation of the organisation. How is it seen?
Yeah.
And so effectiveness, for me, is the extent to which a team is aware of the tensions between these different goals and is able to balance them over the long term.
Yeah, and then of course it's not just the goals or the tasks that the team needs to attend to, but the individual members will also have some needs.
Such as? And what needs do you?
Well, I'm thinking about things like control, for example. So, you know, who's got how much control within the team, and sometimes it's also, you know, as simple as sort of a sense of belonging. So do I really belong in this team? Do I have some influence? Can I have some input here? Do I feel included? So all of these are quite important needs that team members will have. So for me, there's also something around the tension between the task and the goals, and also these individual needs.
Yes, and I think sometimes teams get too preoccupied for one at the expense of the other.
Yes.
Not necessarily consciously, but you know, so you might find a team who's very, very focused on achieving its goals, but at the expense of team members, which has a long-term consequence, or becomes overly focused on whether team members like each other and are satisfied, but then don't achieve anything.
Yeah. And I think for me, a truly effective team is actually one that can manage that tension.
And is that, and so we can think about that, you know, there's so much change happening in organisations that tension is continually changing over time, and the team needs to learn how to manage that tension.
Yeah.
And so we can think about effectiveness ultimately is the team's capacity to learn.